There's something magical about the bond between a human and their dog. It's a connection built on love, loyalty, and those unspoken moments that touch our hearts forever. Welcome to A Dog's Devotion, a podcast that celebrates the incredible ways dogs change our lives and sometimes even save them. Hi, I'm Carla Basagi, and in each episode we'll share powerful, heartfelt stories of dogs who have rescued their humans just as much as they've been rescued themselves. From acts of bravery to the quiet, everyday love that heals, these stories will make you laugh, cry, and even appreciate your furry best friend even more, if that is at all possible. Do you have a story that you'd like to share? I'd love to hear it. Join us on A Dog's Devotion, because every dog has a story, and every story deserves to be told. Welcome to A Dog's Devotion. On this episode, we welcome a very special guest, Dr. Patrick Mahaney, a trusted name in the world of veterinary care. He's based in Los Angeles. Dr. Mahaney is not your typical vet. He brings his expertise directly into the homes of his clients, offering personalized, holistic, concierge-style care that treats not just symptoms, but the whole pet. From acupuncture and Chinese medicine to integrative nutrition and emotional well-being, Dr. Mahaney's approach goes far beyond the exam table. Today, we dive into the deep bond between humans and their animals, the importance of understanding the why behind our pets' behaviors and conditions, and what it means to be truly present and compassionate in the care of our furry companions. Whether you're a lifelong dog lover, a new pet parent, or someone who believes in the healing power of connection, this episode will leave you with a new perspective on how we care for the dogs who devote their entire lives to us. May I also say, before I introduce my guest, is that he's also a celebrity vet. So he does house calls to some celebrities in Los Angeles. So we're going to talk about all that and so much more. Please welcome my guest, Dr. Patrick Mahaney. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yep, I'm so excited to talk to you about pet health and pet care, especially with seniors. And I think that's where most of your dogs that are your patients are. They're senior dogs, are they not?
I really treat the whole gamut of dog ages and some cats as well, even though I'm a house call veterinarian. I only have maybe like 10 cat patients. I don't know how it worked out that way. I feel like most of my clientele is just very attracted to dogs. So I've been doing some degree of house call practice since about 2008. That's when I started my business, California Pet Acupuncture and Wellness. And my original plan in veterinary medicine was to be a radiologist, and I've always wanted to have some kind of business of my own. And when I moved from Washington State to California to Los Angeles in 2006, I was completing my veterinary acupuncture training through the Chi Institute. And actually at that time, I was going to San Diego once a month for a week at a time to do the training. And that really kind of got me very interested in moving to Southern California at some point. And so when I landed in Southern California, I wanted to eventually figure out what I could do for a business of my own. And I'd completed my Chinese medicine training. I was trying to do acupuncture and herbs and everything at this very busy hospital setting where I was working. It was a practice that was 24/7, doing general practice and emergency and also internal medicine. And I was just realizing this is not the right environment for this kind of treatment. And at the time I had my dog Cardiff, who was a Welsh Terrier. I would take him to dog parks and hiking trails all over town. And I would see all these mobile pet related services, from dog walkers to groomers to even some other mobile veterinarians. And I had a bit of an aha moment, I should have my own mobile veterinary acupuncture practice. It was actually a very simple process to do. I had my boss at the time at the hospital was a lawyer, so he helped me to incorporate myself as an S corp. And then California Pet Acupuncture and Wellness was born, and I started going to clients' homes and pretty much just focusing initially on the acupuncture and Chinese medicine side. But then I realized the other pet in the house needed something, or I needed to just provide more services. So I started expanding what I was doing in terms of offering diagnostic testing, like blood, urine, fecal testing, doing vaccines or antibody titer testing as an alternative, because I think dogs and cats are a little bit over vaccinated in this country. And then also doing other services like health certificates for international travel, or even sometimes we do in-home caretaking with certain patients of mine. Like my clients may travel and it might not be the right environment for the dog to go travel with them. The like small, well-behaved dogs come and spend like a week with us, or sometimes even a little bit longer. We kind of incorporate them
Oh,
into our
fun.
day-to-day lives. So what I call like vet sitting. So it's just there's a variety
Right.
of services that I can do on a house call basis that can relieve the need for the owner to actually bring the dog or cat into the hospital.
Right. That's great. So it sounds like you've really built, and over the years, you've built such a unique and trusted practice in LA. I'm curious, what inspired you to become a vet, and why did you choose the concierge holistic route?
Well, I've always really been interested in science and medicine and also art. That's like something I like to do with my free time that maybe I'll do more of in my future when I'm retired. But I just felt as though, so science and medicine always just kind of combined in my interests. And I was also interested in marine animals. My original plan was to go into marine biology as a high school student. But then my parents sat me down and I had that like conversation that no child wants to have with their parents, where they're like forced to think about what's going to happen in their future. What are they going to do on a day-to-day basis? And I think my thoughts in marine biology are like I'm going to be testing water samples and swimming with dolphins and doing fun things like that, and not really thinking about what the actual career trajectory was. And so and having that very important conversation with my parents, and also deciding like where I was going to go to college. Am I going to go to this college for marine biology that's going to cost like a significant amount of money every year versus going to some place which maybe costs less and doing something a little different? So my perspective shifted, and I have always been having the interest in animals too. Decided to go into the pre-veterinary realm because that kind of takes you into a lot of different places where you could go on to graduate school to maybe have more of a science degree, or maybe actually go on to a professional medical program like veterinary schools. My plan shifted that way. Went to University of Delaware for my undergraduate, went to University of Pennsylvania for my graduate program. And there I was kind of like very briefly introduced to acupuncture, where there's an anesthesiologist named Dr. Klein who introduced us to the concept of acupuncture. It was maybe like a 45-minute dialogue. I didn't really understand what it did at the time. And over the years, just being an active person, I've always like wanted to try to keep myself as healthy as possible by doing a lot of activities, from tennis to running to weightlifting to yoga. I've created some injuries in myself over the years that I've actually sought out acupuncture and chiropractic for my own day-to-day pain management. I currently get acupuncture every 2 weeks and chiropractic adjustment every 2 weeks, to just try to do something every day to keep my body as healthy as possible. That's really a big focus of my own personal care, especially as I get older. I'm 52 now, and I have many more years I want to live and be healthy and feel fit and good. I pursue all sorts of different day-to-day health activities so I could actually like really practice what I preach. And that just kind of led to the realm of me going and pursuing acupuncture training. And then when I got to LA and I wanted to have this business, I realized like there's a bit of a niche that needs to be filled. There were not a lot of veterinarians doing house call work, and there's such a need for it, because especially in the Los Angeles community, the entertainment community, people are already used to having people come to their home to provide a variety of services, from their own personal doctors to personal assistants, stylists, hairstylists, fashion stylists,
Right.
personal chefs. Like, so I just kind of get integrated into the cog of what's happening in these people's households. And it's been a really interesting way to practice, because I'm not limited to like 15 minutes in exam room with a client. I get to spend really as much time as needed, really, even for like a very basic thing like going to a client's home to do a vaccine or something like that. I book it for at least an hour, so I have the time to sit down and talk to whomever's involved. And a lot of times it ends up being like, oh, well, you look at this other pet, or my daughter's dog is coming over too and they have a
Right.
problem. So it's there's all these things that kind of get thrust upon me when I'm in the appointment, that I'm grateful to have that time to be able to spend with people. And also, like, I can get to know my clients very well and what happens in the home, and use my senses to see what I might not be able to see in the exam room. Like, a lot of times there's issues happening in the household, like certain stressor, unsafe surfaces, or the housekeeper is sneaking begging strips to the dog or something like that. Just things that you don't really get the awareness of
Right.
unless you go to the household. So I'm grateful for that opportunity to really like get a very good, close behind the scenes look at my clients' homes.
Yeah, and I would think not only that, I mean, it's great to see the animals in their home environment. So as you say, you can see all these different things that maybe you would not see. And dogs, I mean, no, I know my dog Max, he wasn't that afraid of going to the vet, but I swear when I would drive him to the vet, he knew.
Yes.
he was always like terrified. He didn't want to get out of the car. And we weren't even in front of the vet. It's just an innate sense that dogs know. So I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, the fact that you go to someone's house it's not as stressful for dogs or the humans as opposed to when they come to see you in your office and it's sterile and there's that silver table they have to sit up on. So it must make the whole experience a little bit more stress free.
Generally, that's the case. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
they're like, I get a variety of welcomes from my patients. Like sometimes they're really happy to see me and come running up to me and show me their toys and things like that. And there are times they're like, oh
Yeah.
no, something's going on, especially like during pandemic times. I feel like there's so many called pandemic puppies that were not well socialized because people were social distancing. So those pets in particular may not be as like used to new people coming to the household. They're not getting out and about as much. But I feel like in general, the whole experience is less stressful for the pet because they don't have to have that car ride. And especially for larger, older dogs who have mobility problems, like getting them into the car to go to the veterinary hospital or even someplace like a veterinary physical therapy facility where they're going for some kind of like health benefiting treatment like acupuncture, chiropractic, physical rehabilitation. That whole process kind of gets undone by the fact that they're going into this very stressful environment. And like
Mhm.
when the cortisol is being released from the adrenal glands, when the heart rate is up, when the blood pressure is up, it's very hard for the pet to get comfortable and relax and be in kind of a healthier state. And you're kind of always putting them into that state where they're in that fight or flight type of response, which is really not good for the body to be in all the time. So when I go to the clients' homes, I try to have it be like calm and peaceful. I provided the pet can have some kind of treat. I try to give them positive reinforcement with verbal praise and like good hands-on touch and also giving them treats
Right.
that their body's used to getting. So we try to make it a fun experience as much as possible and try to minimize some of the stressors. And there are also like a variety of things that could be used to help with that whole experience being calmer, both in the household and also going to the vet hospital. Like dog and cat appeasing pheromone therapy is really helpful just to try to take that kind of more stressful environment and down regulate it a little bit. These are diffusers that plug into your walls or sprays that you could put on blankets or collars that they can wear, or even sometimes using medications like gabapentin or trazodone or more kind of plant-derived products like hemp extracts or other
Mhm.
supplements that have a calming effect like theanine and chamomile and such. All those things can be used ahead of time to try to make the pet be in a better and calmer state so they're less stressed out during the process.
Right. Now, I love how you combine Eastern and Western approaches, and we've talked about the acupuncture. You take it yourself, but can you share how things like acupuncture or herbal medicine have helped dogs in ways traditional medicine couldn't?
I take like an integrative approach to my patient's care where I'm still using Western treatments, but trying to combine it with Eastern or more non-traditional treatments to try to like I really focus on, I think, and I've learned this through my own physical problems over the years with chronic pain
Yeah.
issues related to bulging discs and pinched nerves and things like that, just being active. So trying to always reduce my patient's reliance on medications that can potentially have side effects. So in that regard, I really focus on pain management. So we've got dogs that have arthritis, dogs that have intervertebral disc disease or IVDD, where that disc cushion between each individual backbone, the vertebra, is not as cushiony, providing the support. So it puts more stress on all the structures there, including the spinal cord and the nerves and every like little other ligament and tendon that keeps things in place. So I'm always trying to reduce the reliance on medications that can potentially have side effects. So from a pain management perspective, we're often using medications like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs or NSAIDs.
Mhm.
Commonly in veterinary medicine, it's like carprofen, which is also known as Rimadyl, or meloxicam, which is known as Meloxidil or Metacam. Those are probably the most common that I use. So those medications are great to help to reduce inflammation, but there can be side effects: digestive, kidney, liver, blood clotting, etc., or other medications that are used to have more of a pain numbing effect, like gabapentin and tramadol can slow a pet down. They can actually slow the digestive tract down. If you have a
Wow.
bigger dog that's having mobility issues and they're already a bit unsteady on their feet, you make them more unsteady because they're mildly sedated. So always wanting to like use these medications judiciously, and that's where acupuncture, laser treatment, hands-on work like massage and physical rehabilitation, stretching, range of motion. Sometimes if the client has a pool at their house, the dog can get into the pool safely. It's really also important to modify the environment to make sure they're not slipping and sliding. Or a lot of people have
Right.
these really high beds and the dog jumps off and lands on a slippery floor and their feet go
Yeah.
out and they rupture tendons, ligaments, or their discs. So it's really important to take a really good assessment of the whole environment, because there's so many things that happen in the home environment, or what they're doing when they're going for the hike or going to the dog park, that could potentially be traumatic to their body, that we can like make more awareness of and try to minimize some of those potentials for dogs to be injured.
Right. Gosh, I wish I had found you when I had my dog Max and he was suffering from arthritis and everything else. Because it's as they get older, you slow down, and then he was in pain, and one vet would tell me to give him this or do that or do this, and as I think most pet owners feel like me, we it's so hard to believe what anybody tells us. What's the right one, what's the wrong one, and you just seem to have the right path and a very knowledgeable history, so I would trust you with my dog, and I
Thank
would have
you.
felt so much better if he was in your hands.
And from that perspective of like, we need to use our medications to effect, but then we want to try to
Yes.
taper off of them. Like medications like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, you don't have to taper as compared to like taking a steroid like prednisone or something. But if your dog needs an anti-inflammatory to function and move better and be more comfortable and have a better quality of life, and it's been prescribed as twice a day, maybe over time, over days, you could get it down to once a day, every other day,
Right.
every 2 to 3 days, discontinue, start again if needed. And that's where things like oral joint supplements come in. I have a veterinary advisor relationship with a great company called Vetneek Labs, and they make a variety of different products. The original product was Glandex, which helps anal glands, but they have all sorts of different other products that help with whole body comfort and mobility. They've got a great product called You Move, which is a really potent, good joint supplement that has good ingredients, help to build joint health and also have an anti-inflammatory effect. So use other things that can have like a joint building supportive effect to try to reduce the need for those medications. And the omega fatty acids are definitely like one of my go-tos for really dogs of any point in their life, because they really support so many different body systems, from your skin to your nervous system. They have a natural
Right.
anti-inflammatory effect. They're kind of like mopping up inflammation around the body, so there's less of a need to take those medications. I take all the same stuff that I recommend for my patients. I take myself in different
You
versions.
do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So like fish oil, joint support, curcumin, which comes from turmeric, natural
Yeah.
antioxidants, probiotics, creatine. You know, I'm a little old.
So I take glucosamine because I'm a huge runner and I know it's good for your joints. So I was actually giving
Yes,
glucosamine to Max too, because I heard it was good for them too, as well.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So also another part that's really important in a dog or cat's life is the nutrition. And I know that plays a huge role in your practice. What's one of the things most dog owners don't know about what they're feeding their pets?
Sure. Well, I feel like there's been an evolution of pet food over the years. I mean, when I graduated from vet school in 1999, it was like dogs and cats should just eat dog and cat food that's commercially available, maybe
Mhm.
prescription. I wasn't really aware of the like how I was eating myself, eating a whole food based diet primarily, how to apply that to pets. And I think it took a couple major events in the pet realm of commercially available pet food that have kind of shocked owners into realizing what's actually going to their pets' foods, from the melamine pet food crisis going back to like 2008, 2009, where melamine, which is plastic, which chemically reads out as protein when it comes to nutritional analysis. When they're determining protein levels or pet food, it's all about levels of nitrogen, basically. By replacing real protein with plastic, it read out the same essentially as having a certain amount of protein levels when it comes to what is in food or baby formula. So many dogs and cats and people were sickened and even died as a result of the replacement of protein with melamine. But then also there's so many food recalls that occur over the years from different toxins or pathogenic bacteria. I've always been really interested in nutrition for myself, and I wanted to figure out a way to apply that to my patients. And learning Chinese medicine helped me to understand food energies, where there's cooling, there's warming, and there's neutral food energies
Mhm.
that can actually be used for therapeutic purposes. I believe in a little less than that as compared to the power of just eating a whole food based diet, trying to have your dog or cat eat food that's as close to what nature makes as possible, but also modified in a way that's nutritionally complete and balanced so they can eat it for their growth stages or for a lifelong food that's not contain. I think raw food is great in the fact that it's very close to what nature wants, but unfortunately raw food is not for all pets or for not all households because there can be pathogenic bacteria that gets in there in the production process or just happens to get in
Right.
there from how you might handle it at home, and that could actually sicken the pet or sicken the whole household. I've had families get sick from the raw meat diets that
Oh,
their
no.
owner was like, or the trainer was insisting that the dog eats, when you can just simply cook a food to an appropriate temperature and kill the pathogenic bacteria. But that's kind of a different
Right.
story as compared to like what goes into pet foods is conventionally considered feed grade ingredients, which is considered subpar to human grade ingredients and has a higher allowable levels of a variety of bad things that go in there, like mold-based toxins like mycotoxins, as mold sporulate, which commonly occur on grains, which are considered feed grade. And there's higher allowable levels of toxins that go into these feed grade foods. These mold-based toxins can slowly or quickly damage the digestive tract, the kidneys, the liver, the immune system. So that's where, yes, like a lot of people are like, oh, my dog can't eat corn. Corn is bad. Like corn in itself is not bad, but the feed grade corn that goes into a lot of dog foods is bad as compared to the fresh corn that we get, that we do corn on the cob or frozen corn or things
Right.
like that. That's not necessarily having some of the same bad ingredients. So I'm not recommending your dog eats like a diet that's based in corn every day, but there's certain ways that ingredients are processed that could really mitigate a lot of health problems if we're just feeding a whole food based diet instead of a feed grade diet that contains these poor quality ingredients.
Right. So I'm a big proponent of, and you're a runner and yoga, we both live very healthy lifestyles. And so I'm sure you eat very healthy like I do.
That I do.
Chicken, sweet potato, brown rice,
Just
vegetables. And
my breakfast smoothie, which has lots of vegetables in
mine's
there.
in here too, and my green tea latte because I just finished a run this morning. But I fed my dog what I ate. I never bought him kibble. I never bought store-bought food because I believed it was full of fillers, and I'd always look on the ingredients and see what the first ones were. And when I saw soy
Right.
and corn feed, I just went, no. So I spent a lot of time and money and energy, which it was all worth it, on feeding Max a fresh chicken breast. I would do sweet potato and I do brown rice and he'd have some vegetables. And that's what that dog ate all the time.
That's great. There's two perspectives when we have to look at that. Like back in the day, commercially available pet foods, so dogs and cats just ate what we ate. It's hard to tell
Right.
this, but dogs may have been healthier at the time. They probably had reduction of certain chronic diseases that we see now. Like we as a society have created the number one nutritional disease in pets, which is obesity, by kind of forcing them to eat like every bite has to
Yeah.
be nutritionally complete and balanced in this one little kibble that they eat huge volumes of and gain weight and have all sorts of other problems related to that. So processed foods have led to a lot of pet health problems over the years. So feeding a more natural diet like you fed Max is really the better way to go. We also have to think like we want to make sure it is nutritionally complete and balanced and ideally follow some kind of recipe where we know the ratios of protein, fat, carbohydrates, fiber, moisture, adding
Right.
vitamin minerals, which might be something that's commercially available, or you can make home prepared vitamin mineral mixes as well using whole food ingredients. And also like every day, if you eat something a little different, you're going to be exposed to different nutrients and over time you can achieve balance. That's why I feel like not every bite has to be nutritionally complete and balanced. I think over the
Right.
general months to years of life, you want to achieve balance by eating different foods. Or if you're just not able to have that food variety for your pet, then having something consistent every day that is nutrition complete and balanced. And that could be following that recipe. There are also veterinary nutritionists out there. A lot of times they're universities, but sometimes there are specialty hospitals that have them. And they're creating therapeutic diets for certain purposes like kidney disease or stones in the bladder or pancreatitis or inflammatory bowel disease. But also these veterinary nutritionists will do just day-to-day diets for both dog and cat. So you don't have to go to the pet store or order online and buy pet food. You could make it yourself as long as you're following the right diet. And nutritional problems really occur over months to years of life. My main concerns are with very fast growing dogs and cats, especially like really large dogs. They grow so fast, their bones can be fragile if we're not meeting up with some of their energetic needs in terms of minerals like calcium and phosphorus. They can have bone and joint problems, or if they gain weight too quickly, it puts too much stress on certain joints, they don't develop well. But it takes a long time for nutritional problems to develop. And that's where like really anything could be fed in short term. Like just I'll tangent really quickly. Your dog has diarrhea or vomiting. You usually
Right.
eliminate the commercially available kibble and put them on a home prepared diet of boiled chicken breast and plain white rice and like a 1/3 protein to 2/3 carb ratio. And that kind of solves the problem for a bit of time. And they could actually go on eating that for days to weeks at a time. But when it becomes weeks to months of eating just that, they're not getting enough of certain nutrients that they need. So they need more of a diverse array of nutrients and more of like a specific diet to eat. So I'm always amazed by like, these dogs have these digestive tract upset. They're put on a whole food diet. It fixes it. And then they go back to the commercially available food. And then it all kind of starts a cycle again. So I think it's
Right.
really important to focus on at least some component of it being whole food nutrients. Like if you want to continue to have your dog eat kibble as the main diet, fine, but add in that fresh, like what you were feeding Max, the chicken, the sweet
Yeah.
potato, other vegetables, all things just to give that little bit of whole food nutrition.
Yeah. I read something somewhere and you just mentioned the obesity problem. I believe it was half of all dogs are obese, and the number of cancer patients with dogs has increased over the last few years as well. Does that have something to do with the food that they're eating or just our environment these days and the pollutants that are in the air?
I think it's a combination of things. So the Association for Pet Obesity Prevention, or also known as APOP, every year to a couple years releases a study about the number and percentages of obese pets in this country, and every year it
Mhm.
continues to increase. In part because dogs and cats are number one eating too many calories. Like it's really important to determine. So what I do for my clients, and this is part of like when it comes down to looking at things a little bit holistically, or being a concierge veterinarian where I can really take the time with my clients to focus on really specific aspects of problems, or where problems come from. So your veterinarian can calculate for you the resting energy requirement, or RER, that your dog or cat needs per day, based off of if they're growing, if they're lactating, if they're pregnant, if they're overweight,
Right.
if they're just kind of neutered or spayed, and they're just kind of in this state where their metabolism has been downregulated some. So knowing how many calories my pet should eat per day, you then can look at the food and how many calories is in a certain portion, and determine what is the portion that I should feed. And then also consider treats, add on additional calories. So we want to try to minimize those treats
Right.
or have them be healthy or low calorie treats, like pieces of vegetables and fruit, instead of like
Cheese
kibble.
and bacon.
Yeah, cheese and bacon. I mean, that's not bad in itself, but like the treats that are simulations of cheese and bacon are not so great. So we can partner with our clients and say, this is how many calories your pet should eat per day, and help to make that calculation, and then track the response over time to hopefully prevent obesity. Because yes, obesity creates inflammation, and inflammation causes cellular changes, and those cellular changes can become cancer over time, along with just damaging your immune system, your cardiovascular system, causing like too much stress in terms of too much abdominal fat, hanging a pendulous abdominal fat, but also fat that's inside the abdomen. That's all really bad for your whole body health. And so obesity is completely preventable, but it just takes some diligence and also some foresight in determining like how much I should eat. Because what it says on the back of the dog food bag, there's a big range, and we always want to maybe think about feeding on
True.
the lower end of the range, making sure measuring very specifically. But I love like clients that are willing to actually measure in ounces or measure in cups how much we should eat per day, and then just really stick with that. And that usually prevents dogs from becoming overweight or obese, and developing all sorts of other problems throughout their lives.
Right. And you know what? It's hard not to give your dog treats when they look
Totally.
at you with those big brown eyes, and
Yes.
you just want to give it love. It's like Nona and her son, right? The more you eat, the
Yes.
more the love.
Yeah.
We have to learn not to do that
Yeah.
because it's actually harming our pets. And it was hard for me to say no.
And healthier treats like pieces of vegetables. And I mean, a lot of I get feedback from clients like, oh my god, I can't feed my dog watermelon because it has sugar. I'm like, this is healthy sugar. This isn't like high fructose
Right.
corn syrup that's going into a simulation of bacon that you think is healthy and it's fun for your dog to eat. Like, let's focus on whole food nutrition. Vegetables are great snacks for your pet. I feel like if they're eating a large volume of vegetables, you want to be concerned about how is it going to come out the other end, and maybe cooking them to make them more digestible. But pieces of celery, carrot, jicama, cucumber, apple, those are like great healthy treats that you give your pet on a day-to-day basis, that provide fiber and nutrients and moisture, and are very satisfying for them to eat as well with that crunch.
Hmm. Yeah, well, Max didn't like the vegetables. He was a cheese and meat guy,
I'm all
and I
for
tried.
a good healthy protein treat.
So we've talked about the food. Now, what about emotional or environmental factors like the stress in at home? Does that affect a dog's physical health?
Absolutely think so. I feel like households that have a lot of stress, and I feel like these are households
Mhm.
that include families that have children, and the children are creating a
Yeah.
lot of higher energy in the household, or houses where there's construction, or a lot of people are just generally coming and going. All those things put stress on our pets, and even like pets that travel. The whole travel process is very stressful for pets. So I try to talk to
Yes.
clients about like, should your pet really go on this relatively short international trip where they're going to be exposed to all sorts of different temperatures and humidities and potential infectious diseases? So maybe they should stay home. So yeah, stress like elevates cortisol levels. Increased cortisol elevates blood pressure and heart rate, can increase your cholesterol over time, can increase your platelet count, which could lead to things like blood clots. So I feel like stress is not great for the body, and we should try to mitigate stress as much as possible in our day-to-day lives by really having as zen of a household as you can, recognizing some of the stressful triggers and eliminating them if possible.
Over the years, you must have some incredible stories. Is there a case or a dog that you'll never forget that really moved you?
Well, there's many important dogs and cats I feel like that I've had as
Oh,
patients.
that.
With the number one being my own dog Cardiff, who was the inspiration for my
Mhm.
holistic practice because he had what would be considered an autoimmune disease, which in veterinary medicine we call immune mediated, and in his case was immune mediated hemolytic anemia, where his immune system just went crazy. I couldn't really figure out why. And started attacking his red blood cells, causing anemia that required replacement of the lost red blood cells with transfusions, as well as pretty significant immunosuppressive therapy to get him to a point that his body's not attacking his red blood cells. And it was probably related to
Yes.
his genetics. It could have been related to an environmental trigger like change of seasons and affecting his vitamin D levels. Could also be related to him having been neutered relatively early in life. There's all sorts of emerging studies that are showing that actually maintaining hormones that are involved, that are produced by your reproductive organs, is very healthy for your body. So it's trying to like figure out how society's going to accept that because we're so focused on spaying and neutering our pets at a very early age. So Cardiff was a big inspiration for how I go about looking at how disease emerges and it manages, and I manage disease, because also like vaccines can trigger undesirable immune responses. I believe in vaccination, but very judicious vaccination. So that got me very interested in antibody titer testing as an alternative to certain vaccinations. So Cardiff was the big inspiration for my practice. Then in being in practice, I had a very important patient named Norbert the dog who lived to almost 17, I think. He passed away this year after having a very long, healthy life and gradually succumbing to neurologic problems that affect very many small dogs. He was a 3.5 pound dog. So he had a condition where the fluid doesn't flow around the brain and spinal cord properly that affected his mobility. And also he had some disc problems and some kidney and liver disease. So Norbert the dog was very important because he spread a message of positivity as a rescue dog. He had a lot of likenesses out there online in terms of books and
Nice.
calendars and stuffed animals and pins and socks. So I have a lot of these
Wow.
kind of homage to Norbert in my office in West Hollywood. So he continues to spread his message of like doing good in the world and being positive, which I think is really important these days. Our lives are a bit stressful right now with what's going on in the state of the world. So everybody check out Norbert the dog because he's still a thing. But then also I worked with
Okay.
Jane Lynch for a long time, and she had a very inspirational dog named Arbuckle, also known as Fatty Arbuckle, because when he was found by a purposeful rescue, he was like 120 pounds as a dog that probably should be around 60 to 75 pounds.
He
So
was double his weight?
he looked like a walrus. It was crazy. So he was found abandoned out in kind of an arid desert type community, infested with ticks
Uh-huh.
and fleas and massively
Oh,
overweight with
poor
all
guy.
sorts of problems and hypothyroidism, which is a very common underfunctioning of the thyroid glands. So over the years that I knew Arbuckle as a patient, we were able to get him to a healthy weight and in just a very healthier body state through whole food nutrition and supplements and trying to manage some of his hormone problems that were inherent in him. So he was really quite a remarkable dog, and he was very well followed, as was Norbert as well. Like there were Instagram pages, there's media was following him as Arbuckle was owned by Jane Lynch. She was posting about him and his story. So she was talking about him in all sorts of different formats. So he was a really great dog to have as a patient and to see his progression to a healthier state over the years that I got to work with him.
The satisfaction you must have received seeing that change in the dog would have been I mean, worth everything, isn't
Absolutely.
it? I'm interested because I know you treat lots of dogs and you've got a few cats that you treat as well, but what's something a dog has taught you about healing or resilience?
I feel like dogs often don't really know that they're sick. They don't know that they're sick in a
Yeah.
way that we kind of process the same thing. Like when we're told we have a serious illness, it's really life altering. Like, especially when it comes to something like cancer, it really affects your whole life. You have to go through major procedures just to try to get things managed, from surgery to chemotherapy to radiation. It affects your ability to work. It affects your mental state, how you function as a partner to somebody, how you function as a parent. So I feel like when dogs and cats get sick, they just don't feel well, but they don't really think about, oh, I'm not going to be able to like go to the dog park and see my friends every day. I'm not going to be able to go on this trip with my owner. They just don't feel as well as they should, but they're still very resilient, and they go about their day-to-day lives just trying to do as their best that they can. I mean, I have a patient that's named Harper right now, who's a senior golden retriever, and she has a history of lymphoma, which manifested just as a small mass on her lip margin, which was cutaneous lymphoma. And lymphoma is malignant white blood cell cancer. So she needed a first surgery, a revision surgery, removal of the lymph nodes in her neck, a series of chemotherapy treatments, and she was cancer free for quite some time. And then, upon a routine recheck, it was just discovered that she had a large, dark, ugly, kind of big blackberry looking mass in the back of her throat, which unfortunately is likely something very serious. We don't know what it is yet. She's about to go through a series of evaluations to try to determine what this is. It's probably melanoma, and it's huge, and it's in the back of her mouth, and it's affecting her ability to swallow. But she still has a great outlook, and she still acts like herself. You really wouldn't know she was sick, except for the fact that maybe she's not eating quite as well. She's doing kind of some different behaviors, like a little bit of like a coughing, gagging, because this mass that's going in the back of her throat. So she still seems very much like her normal self and is going about her day-to-day life. And most pets do that, despite the fact that they could have very serious illnesses where with humans we're like, oh my god, my life is over at this point. So I feel like we learn so much about resilience from our pets that do just kind of like keep going about their day-to-day life.
So true because I saw that with Max as he was getting older. I know the arthritis was getting bad. His cholesterol levels were high, and I know he wasn't feeling the best, but that dog didn't realize that. He was still wanting to go running, wanted to go hiking, wanted to live every day like it was his last. And the resilience that he showed me, even though I'm sure he was in pain, but I didn't know, I don't know. And that was the worst part, is that I didn't know. So is there a way for pet owners to see that their dog's in pain, or is it just taking taking them on regular vet checkups to make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to?
I think it's a combination. We treat our pets like family. Often,
Yeah.
we pet owners are very aware of what's going on a day-to-day basis. Like if your dog is slowing down, not getting up the stairs as well, seems hesitant to jump on or off the bed or get in and out of the car, maybe wants to spend a little less time away from you, perhaps not performing as well when they're doing some kind of activity like walking, hiking, running, then yes, there could be a chronic pain issue or something going on inside the body affecting one of their organs, like their kidneys, their liver, their pancreas, their heart, their thyroid glands, their adrenal glands. So I think being an observant owner and noticing when your pet is having these problems and bringing them to the attention of your veterinarian is important. But when you bring your pet to the vet, it's also important that they get a very thorough physical exam, like looking at all body systems. And when I go to my clients' homes, the majority of the time doing the exam right in front of them and talking them through it, like looking in the eyes, the ears, the mouth, listening to the heart and lungs, palpating the abdomen, doing a rectal exam, provided you can get your finger up
Yeah.
the dog's or cat's bum, is very important
Oh, right.
to like assess the anal
Right.
glands, the prostate gland, and feeling for masses. Doing a really thorough exam where you're evaluating the nervous system, the musculoskeletal system, palpating the joints, taking the joints to range of motion, feeling for places where there's pain, lack of range of motion, heat. I mean, if you're touching a place in your dog's body where they don't like, they're going to usually turn around and like at least let you know by directing their attention that
Yes.
way that that doesn't feel good, and then maybe we should focus on imaging the area like with x-rays or something, try to determine what's going on, and then we can figure out a good treatment plan, combine it with blood testing and urine testing, especially if we might need pain management medications because we want to monitor the organ system's response to those medications. So everything that you observe, I think, should be somehow jotted down, like in the notes function on your phone, or making a little calendar entry, like on this day, Max didn't want to run as far as he did before. Something might be going on. And if there's a trend there, then we definitely want to bring that to the attention of the vet and get that thorough physical exam and get some
Right.
diagnostics done.
So keeping an eye on our pets and any change in behavior is extremely important.
Absolutely. Behavior changes usually have some kind of manifestation where there's a physical problem. Like your cat isn't just peeing on your laundry because they prefer that spot over the litter box, which they could. And also, a lot of times people don't
Yeah.
keep the litter boxes clean. So the cat has to find another comfortable place that maybe doesn't have
Right.
a stressor like the laundry machine and the housekeeper and the dog running in there trying to eat their food. So your pet is telling you something when they're doing something different in their day-to-day habits, especially when it comes to chronic pain problems.
Right. Okay, keep your eyes open on your pets and make notes when you see things that aren't normal behavior for them. I also wanted to ask you, for our listeners who want to advocate for better care for their pets, what should they be asking their vets, or what should they be looking for?
I think wellness is really important. Like a lot of medicine is focused on fixing the disease when it happens, more so than preventing the disease from happening in the first place. Like really, the best medicine is prevention. It's better to not have the disease at all. That's why I'm a believer in vaccines, because I think we need to train our immune system in order to recognize the pathogens that we're exposed to, both people and animals, on a day-to-day basis. But I also believe in judicious vaccine use, because the immune system is complicated. There always could be side effects from having wellness treatments like vaccinations. And that's why I feel like you should work with your veterinarian to tailor your dog's or cat's vaccinations plan very specific to their health and their lifestyle. Because a lot of times you get these notices their vaccine is due, and it's important to have that conversation with your vet. Like, does my dog or cat really need this vaccine? Could we antibody titer test them to assess for immunity from prior vaccines? Does my dog need to continue to have this one vaccine because they're not going to the boarding facility, daycare, dog park, trainer, where they're going to be exposed to all sorts of other dogs? Just try to really focus on keeping the immune system and the whole body functioning as healthy as possible overall. So partner with your vet and come up with a really good wellness strategy: weight maintenance, avoidance of trauma and toxins, eating the healthiest diet as possible that's as similar to what nature makes in terms of being whole food as possible, and come up with a bigger scale plan that way. And also, like, at least annually having blood testing and urine testing done to look for internal organ problems. I recommend fecal testing for my canine patients every 6 months or more often, because a lot of times dogs really explore the world with their mouths and pick up a variety of pathogens in the environment. So it's worth it to spend the money to like partner with a veterinarian who's really going to care and create a bigger plan for your pet, and to spend the money to do regular diagnostics to try to observe the trends of how organs function over time.
Okay. Dr. Patrick Mahaney, it's such a pleasure speaking to you. I love that you're a holistic pet care in-house concierge for pets. It's so great. You've got a great clientele, but you're also involved in a lot of charity organizations. And I think that's really important to mention, because you do a lot of work for dogs and animals. You go to people's homes and you take care of their pets like they're your own. I know you and your husband pet sit for some of your clients' pets when they go away, which is a nice way to have a pet and then give it back when they come back,
Yeah.
because it's just nice to have a pet around. Can you tell us some of the charity organizations that you work with?
Well, I don't necessarily work with one particular charity, but over the years, I've worked with a couple that stand out. There's an organization called Amazon Cares, where I went and provided complimentary. I took time off from work and paid my own way to go to the Amazon to do kind of a mass style vet setup at different villages along the Amazon River. So it was very rewarding to go to see these
Wow.
villages that have no veterinary care at all. And sometimes the people are being affected by the same illnesses as the dogs, especially like intestinal parasites. So trying to help the whole community be healthier by treating parasites and doing spays and neuters. And then right at the start of the pandemic, a company called Elvet Sciences, which makes very high quality cannabis extract products for pets, from pain relief, for behavior modification. There's a lot of really good products that Elvet Sciences makes, and also is studying the effects of cannabis on the body, from what it does for benefits or what could there be side effects. A lot of people don't really think about, oh, this is a natural product. It could in fact have side effects. So we really want to be aware of what these perceived health benefiting products can have. So Elevet created this project called the Pets in Need Project, which I helped to coordinate for getting medical care, bringing awareness to, where Elevet had this truck that went to underserved communities and provided complimentary veterinary care. And I elected to not actually go on the truck because I have my own house call practice. I am the one doing everything. This was right at the start of COVID. Nobody knew fully what was going on in terms of disease transmission. I could not really risk getting COVID at that time and not be able to practice. Right. I was able to be very careful with my day-to-day life so I didn't get COVID, so I didn't bring it to my clients. I wouldn't want to not be able to work and function just because I was doing something else. So anyway, sorry, tangent there, but they brought amazing amounts of veterinary care to communities that were very underserved, especially in the Southern California and the San Francisco Bay Area, places where people just didn't quite have the resources to go to the vet, or getting to the vet at the time during COVID was very challenging. You're doing all curbside. So Elevet brought this really good opportunity to help a lot of people on a complimentary basis to many underserved communities.
That's such a great idea. I've seen the lineups. I've heard some of them have lined up for 6 hours to get their pets taken care of. And that just warms my heart. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. And I think that it continues to happen in a certain smaller scale. There's all sorts of different outreach programs that occur a lot of times in major metropolitan areas. So there's a lot of low-cost options where you can still seek good care for your pet, depending on where you live.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Mahaney, for your time, but more importantly, for the incredible care you give to our pets. Thank you. Well, Dr. Patrick Mahaney reminds us that caring for our dogs is more than just annual checkups and kibble. It's about tuning in, being present, and honoring the deep healing bond we share with them. And that's exactly what he just talked about. His compassionate approach shows us that dogs are not just patients. They really are family, teachers, and healers. If you want to learn more about Dr. Mahaney's work or explore holistic veterinary care for your own beloved companion, you can always go to his website, Instagram. He's always got great tips on there. So make sure you follow him, like his YouTube, and you'll learn so much that'll help your pet in the end live a healthier and longer life. And if today's conversation resonated with you, please share it with a fellow dog lover. Until next time, keep showing up with love, just like our dogs do every single day. Dr. Patrick Mahaney, it was a real pleasure. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of A Dog's Devotion. I'm your host, Carla Basacki. My guest this week was holistic vet based in Los Angeles, Dr. Patrick Mahaney, and he had some great tips. To follow him on Instagram, it's easy. It's at Patrick Mahaney, and that's all lowercase. His last name is spelled Mahaney. His YouTube channel is Patrick Mahaney 118. And of course, there's his website, www.patrickmahaney.com. I hope you have a great week. Give your dog some extra treats today, but make sure they're healthy ones, as the doctor was mentioning earlier. I hope you have a great week. And until next time, take care. And that's a wrap on another unforgettable story from the heart, because when it comes to love, loyalty, and second chances, no one does it better than our dogs. They find us when we're lost, lift us when we're low, and teach us what true devotion really looks like. Thanks for listening, and remember, in this wild world, we're all just trying to find our way home. Sometimes it takes 4 paws to lead us there. So give your pup an extra cuddle today and cherish your time with him. Give him some extra treats too. I know he'll love him. This podcast is in honor of my best buddy, Max.